Loving God, we thank you for this opportunity to celebrate on the eve of graduation. This is a new generation of leaders to transform the world. We can see your blessings and grace in our triumph. With the psalm we pray, I give you thanks, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. Thank you. You have not given us a spirit of fear, but of virtue, of love, of discernment. You have created us to be happy. You have called us by our names for a special purpose that no one else can accomplish. Thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for the gift of family, for the gift of friends. Thank you for this journey, for the relationships, for the connections we have built, and of course, for the not-so-friendly roommate, and for the endless nights. Thank you for the WPI family, for its diversity and creativity, for the unique talents you have given us to have a place in this world. Fill us with humility, Lord. Teach us to work with honesty and to serve you through the service of our brothers and sisters, for those longing for an end to violence, discrimination, and poverty. Help us to serve communities longing for justice, for peace, for better opportunities for families, with theory and practice, with hearts, with minds, with strength and hard work, and with your guidance, we are ready to create a positive impact in lives and communities, in all the peoples of the earth. We are ready to go and bear abundant fruits. Thank you, Lord. We praise your name. Amen.
Good evening, everybody. You may be seated. To the WPI class of 2018, President Leshin, trustees, faculty, staff, alumni, family members, and friends. On behalf of the class of 2018 Baccalaureate Committee, we welcome you. We offer this evening's ceremony as a celebration of all who dedicate themselves to learning and to wisdom. The baccalaureate tradition at WPI is planned by members of the senior class. This rite of passage allows the graduating class to pause and reflect on their WPI experience. This evening's program provides an opportunity for the graduating class to remember both the formidable challenges and the tremendous growth which they have experienced over these past 4 years. We will hear stories from students of the graduating class, be gifted with words of inspiration from our special guest speaker, alumnus Lise Jorgensen, class of '87, and enjoy music performed by a number of talented members of the class of 2018. So welcome and please enjoy the program.
Good evening, and welcome to a truly special weekend here at WPI that marks the occasion of our 150th commencement ceremony. It is truly an honor to stand here before you today, and it's something I've thought about for a very long time. 4 years ago, I sat at my high school graduation ceremony, sitting before the stage just like you, and made a promise to pour everything I had and more into the school I would call home for the next 4 years. To do everything in my power to leave my mark on the school, affect positive change, and potentially even deliver an end-of-the-year address as I am today. While there were many ups and downs along the way, I can say without a doubt in my mind that creating change and leaving our mark is something we have all done and will continue to do throughout the rest of our lives. Arriving here on our very first day, ferried by a parade of cars around this very quadrangle, we took our first steps on WPI soil, like pioneers stepping foot in the new world. An unfamiliar place, unfamiliar faces, and a resume completely wiped blank. Nervous and excited, we began our time at WPI in our first semester, united by common goals such as escaping the dining hall with as many cookies as possible. And by phrases like, "Hey, how'd you do on that physics exam?" For which my answer was, "Hey, pretty well. I got above a 30 this time." And we all spent countless hours in the lab and library finding new ways to procrastinate and forming friendships that would last a lifetime. As the quarters flew by and the naps in between classes became harder to come by, we evolved. Our C's turned into A's. We began work on cutting-edge research, and we stepped into new and exciting leadership roles. Throughout all of these endeavors, we have strived with two goals in mind: innovation and impact. Over 150 years ago, in 1865, John Boynton, Ichabod Washburn, and all the other founders of the Worcester County Free Institute for Industrial Science created this school with those very goals in mind. Aided by theory and practice, the progenitor to WPI served as a center that would provide the finest education for first-class minds to lead a fledgling industrial economy. Taking this mission to heart, the small technical institute grew year after year, aided by generous alumni and benefactors to always push the envelope and boundaries of what is possible. From gas-powered automobiles to the first liquid-fueled rocket, the last 150 years of WPI history has left a rich legacy of innovation and set the bar high for future success. But throughout it all, throughout the technological advancement, all of our traditions, and the reputation of the Institute, there's an underlying drive. The drive that the task is never complete, the job never finished. It is now up to us to continue this legacy. The past 150 years have given us a pedestal to stand on, but it is now time for us to turn that pedestal into a launch pad. In the next 150 years and beyond, we will find more opportunities than we know what to do with. We will find doors that will unlock for us, doors that will open for us, and doors that we must break down to reach the other side, but we will succeed. For in the words of Winston Churchill, success is not final, failure not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Although these words were spoken at a much different time in history, they still ring very much true today, and by following them, I'm sure you'll all find continued success in your future and continue to push the boundaries of thought and imagination. When writing this speech, I thought about ending here, ending on a high note with a dramatic quote from Winston Churchill and pushing the boundaries of thought and imagination. But it didn't feel quite right. I felt the need to finish on a more personal note with one of the greatest lessons I could have ever learned at this institution. It's not about integrals or mass flow rates. It's not even about engineering or science, but about the people around you and the brevity of life. In my time here, I was always busy. The blank spaces on my resume pushed me to do more and more and fill my time with productive pursuits. Each and every one of those pursuits has had a positive impact on me. But in the end, standing here now, I realize that I've left something out of the equation. Many of you. While I can look back and smile on the times I've had here and the friends I have made, I cannot help but wish I had spent more time with each of them and met more of you. It's taken me 4 years to realize this, but at the end of the day, it isn't the titles on your resume or the organizations you've changed on campus that matter. but the people that you've changed in them. For as there can be no innovation without theory and practice, there can be no impact without strong relationships with those around you. Combining the two, we will all go farther than previously imagined, and there can be no limit to our success. Thank you all very much. Good luck in your future endeavors, and congratulations to the WPI class of 2018.
This is the moment, this is the day, this is the moment when I know I'm on my way. Every endeavor I have made ever is coming into play, is here and now today. This is the moment, this is the time, when the momentum and the moment are in rhyme. Give me this moment, this moment, this moment. I'll gather up my past and make some sense at last. This is the moment, my final test. Destiny beckoned, I never reckoned second best. This is the day, just see it shine, when all I lived for becomes mine. This is the moment, this is the hour, when all I've lived for becomes open like a flower, and put my hand to everything that I plan to fulfill my grand design, see all my stars align. This is the moment, damn all the odds. This day or never, I sit forever with the gods. When I look back, I will recall, moment for moment, this was the moment, the greatest moment of them all, the greatest moment, moment of them all.
Move-in day, August 24th, 2014. Journal entry. I have to get out of this place. I am not meant to be at WPI. Everything feels so wrong here. I don't know anyone. The dorms smell different. I've already stepped on the seal, and I walked into the men's bathroom. I can't possibly see how I'm going to make it through 4 years here. I guess I'll just have to wait and see what the future holds. Do you remember the blur of move-in day? Do you remember what you were like back then? how you felt? Parents and family, can you recall this day? How did your son or daughter feel? How did you feel? The fear of change, the stress of being an outsider in a new community, the looming doom of Physics 1111, the longing for home. At moments, it felt like more than I could bear. Yet, no matter how indescribable the combination of fear and uncertainty was, the hopeful excitement and anticipation for what WPI had in store for us could be felt across campus. I wish I could go back in time and whisper to our freshman selves that it was all going to be okay, that we were going to make it, that we'd pass the class, ace the test, survive the all-nighter, submit our major qualifying projects, even if it meant a slight dependence on Dunkin' Donuts coffee. As the 7-week terms flew by, we found our footing and quickly began to take on more than we ever could have imagined. Harder classes, more extracurriculars, new friends. Our determination was limitless. And when we reached our breaking points, we encouraged each other to push harder, to tackle the impossible, question norms, welcome unfamiliarity, and shatter the limits we had set for ourselves. For greatness is rarely achieved in the comfort zone. The class of 2018 is here today, proud to join the ranks of generation upon generation of WPI's bright and industrious alumni. And like those who came before, our individual paths have been quite unique. From the mathematicians who spent hours on the 4th floor of Stratton Hall, to the civil engineers who watched the sun rise from the depths of Caven Hall. We have journeyed hard, continuing to define and redefine what it means to learn from both our successes and our mistakes, and ultimately to prevail. I've often heard my peers talk about a project they're working on, or an organization they're a part of, or an app they're designing, or an independent study they're conducting, and I'll think really, honestly, how fortunate I am to be surrounded by classmates who are filled with such passion for research and innovation. How incredibly lucky we all are to be included in a community that devotes every ounce of its skill, imagination, and talent to facing some of the world's most pressing challenges. But our experience has been so much more than our rigorous academics. WPI is full of these tiny circles we pull around ourselves. Group work, bands and a cappella, sports teams and Greek life, societies and clubs. WPI has made us feel loved and safe and a part of something, even on our loneliest nights. Most of us won't have these little circles next year. We won't live 2 or 3 minutes from our closest friends, won't have all those group texts, the ones that buzz nonstop whether you want them to or not. And although, on some level, I think I was always aware of how special these experiences were, it is only now, as our time as undergraduates reaches its end, that I begin to understand just how meaningful and valuable these moments and friendships were to all of us. It's not quite love and it's not quite community, but it's this feeling that there is an abundance of people who are in this together, who are on your team, who are willing to pick up the bill at the Boynton, trek to the library through a blizzard with you, stay up talking until 4 a.m., celebrate the first hints of sunlight on the quad. That time we did. We went, we saw, we laughed, we felt. We don't have a word for the opposite of loneliness, but if we did, I could say that's what I want in life. We're in this together. One of my favorite writers, Marina Keegan, wrote these words: the opposite of loneliness. That is what I found here at WPI. This web we're in, this feeling that I'm so unbelievably safe with all of you. Of course, there are things we all wish we had done. That homework, that club, the readings. To our professors, we promise, we really, really intended to do the readings. And also to our professors, thank you for letting us be our own worst critics. Thank you because we've learned to accept the successes with humility, receive the defeats with grace, and work towards finding our balance in life, even if it means we may never live up to our perfect fantasies of our future selves. When we came to WPI, there was this tremendous sense of possibility, this immense and indefinable potential energy. And today, it's easy to feel like that may be slipping away. When you come to the end of the path, where do you go from here? Many of us never had to make big life choices before, and suddenly we do. Some of us know exactly what we want and are on the path to getting it. Already employed at that dream engineering job, entering the armed forces, going to graduate school, doing research, working for the perfect nonprofit. For some of us, however, we may feel lost in this sea of our many interests, in the confluence of the technical world and humanity. There's this sentiment I sometimes sense, creeping into our collective conscious, that it is somehow too late, that others are somehow ahead, more accomplished, more specialized, more on the path to somehow saving the world, somehow creating or inventing or improving. Some find themselves not quite sure exactly what road they're on and whether they should have taken it. If only I had majored in this. If only I had gotten involved in that. If only I'd thought to apply to this. What we must remember, however, is that we can still do anything. We can change our minds, start over, go to graduate school, try writing or teaching for the first time, travel the world. We're graduating college and we're so young. The notion that it's somehow too late is ridiculous, and the tremendous possibility and energy from first-year move-in day is still here. These tiny groups we've surrounded ourselves with make WPI the diverse, welcoming, intellectual hub for learning and growth that it is. At WPI, we are engineers, scientists, mathematicians, thinkers, and creators. We are writers, singers, artists, actors. We are risk takers, troublemakers, and disturbers of the quiet at Gordon Library. We are teachers, coaches, leaders. We are friends. 4 years ago, I sat in my room, upset, distressed, and perpetually overwhelmed with uncertainty over my life path. And now I stand before you, still overwhelmed with uncertainty. But I also stand here in love, humbled, and ready to see what the future holds. Maybe I'm idealistic, but class of 2018, we are in this together, and I feel like we could do something really amazing to this world. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to introduce our special guest speaker this evening. The senior class was extremely happy when our distinguished alumna, Lise Jorgensen, accepted our invitation to be the special guest speaker this evening. After graduating from WPI with a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering in 1987, Lise Jorgensen began her career at Procter & Gamble in product development. She later joined Bristol-Myers Squibb, where she helped set up research and development labs as the section manager of the product development team. After 2 years at Bristol-Myers Squibb, she transitioned her career to Clairol as an associate director, where she set up a corporate innovation group. After nearly 7 years at Clairol, she moved to the Estée Lauder companies, where she served as the global vice president, leading a highly skilled global product development team to help successfully shape the launch strategies and creative development of all skincare and makeup launches under the Estée Lauder brand. While at Estée Lauder, Lise had an entrepreneurial corporate innovation team supporting many of the 29 brands with new breakthrough insights, incubation of disruptive technology platforms, novel consumer engagement applications, and conceptualization of new business models to help influence a new future. After 13 years of developing products and innovative platforms for Estée Lauder, Lise moved to Unilever in 2013, which is ranked 109th on Forbes' Global 2000 listing of the world's largest public companies. Lise presently serves as the Global Vice President of Research and Development for Unilever. Lise has also been a recipient of the WPI Alumni Association's Robert Goddard Alumni Award for Outstanding Professional Achievement. Please help me welcome Lise Jurgensen.
Thank you, Rachel. It's such an honor to be here. When I read the website on what this baccalaureate award ceremony was all about, it said it was going to be a quiet, intimate setting. This place is hopping, and 1,000 people I don't call intimate, but let's kind of play with it. So thank you again for the warm welcome. Thank you, President Leshin, deans, faculty, to the Senior Baccalaureate Committee for picking me, to the proud parents and friends that are here, and most importantly, the reason we are here, which is a big thank you to the graduating class of 2018. Congratulations. It's a real pleasure for me to be back on campus to celebrate such an important day with all of you. And I'm also very grateful that I could have some of my closest friends, my dearest friends from WPI, as well as my husband here to help me through this speech. So thank you. So I have to admit, I underestimated the amount of pressure and stress that would come along with me saying yes to do this speech. I figured, how hard could it possibly be to tell a story about my life? It can't be that hard. But then it dawned on me. I've got to figure out how to take a message of 31 years since I was sitting in your seats and crunch it together and make it inspirational, memorable, motivational, and do it in 15 to 20 minutes max. So that was tough. But let me tell you, I racked my brains for weeks on end, and lost a lot of sleep to try to figure out what this message is going to be. And I can promise you, I've created more than 20 speeches, more than I've done in my recent job. Yeah, to write it down. They ranged from a download of all my crucible moments, and then I started to look at how many pages there were, and they weren't so inspirational to me either, so I'm not going to share them with you. I had a no worries message, which life is a piece of cake, but then I thought that would be a good fake news report, and I wouldn't do that. And then, honestly, I had one because I kind of gave up, and I said, you know what? Don't do it. Live off of your parents for the rest of your life, and your children will figure it out. So what I decided to do instead is I grabbed some inspiration from our two speakers here, which honestly, I think they did a brilliant job. So a round of applause for Rachel and Joe. I happen to love the underlying message and perspective that the world is in fact full of possibility. I have always believed that to my core. What it all comes down to is that you see it and that you do something with it. And it's equally true that WPI has prepared all of you really well, as it's prepared many before you, including me. So as the much older representative on the stage, what I'm going to do now is share some of my reflections, some of the lessons that I've learned over the last 30 years. I'm going to do so with 4 short stories that I've curated. They're very lighthearted, very intimate, so I hope you enjoy them. My first story is called The Trip. Simply said, the story begins in the senior year of my college days here at WPI. I just completed a very successful internship at P&G. One of the college recruiters had now come to the campus, specifically asking to see me. It was a beautiful day, not unlike today. The skies were blue. I had my blue suit on. I had blue pumps. You have to channel in the fashion of the 80s here, yeah? I thought I felt good, I looked good, still a little shy, but I felt confident that I could have this. And so I come across this exact quad to the old alumni gym, which is no longer there, so I cannot pay respects to this building. And I saw the recruiter, and I extended my hand to say hello. And what ended up happening, the next thing I know, I tripped. I had no idea there were steps between me and him. But I do think I touched the second and third step to help propel myself a little closer. It was a graceful entrance unlike any other. And before I can go any further, and I do have to put my legal context here, I need to let you know that as I was looking at his shoes and essentially kissing them, this message has nothing to do with me kissing anything with any corporate anything at all. That's not my style, no. Rather, my pearl of wisdom comes with what happened next, because it is a disastrous moment, as you can imagine, and it's a choice. You can decide to take it in or do something with it. And so I took something with it. I actually broke out into hysterics. And I rolled over and still extended my arm up. And I said, "I'm Lisa Vivastad. It's a real pleasure to meet you." And so it goes. No question I made an impression, not exactly how I had it imagined in my head. And in some respects, you can probably say it was a career-limiting move early, or even a career-ending move before my career even started. But the reality is, it happened. But to my surprise, I ended up getting the job. And I even accepted it. Out of the other many offers I had to choose from that year, what impressed me the most was how this company wanted to know who I was and was even accepting for me and who I was. And that was a really nice message for me. And if anyone can accept me, even in the most embarrassing of moments of my time, it must be the right place for me to work. So my second story is called The $69 Flight. I had always dreamed of traveling through Europe before I started my job. And for my graduation present, my parents gave me a very generous gift, $1,000, to do that trip. So parents, if you've written a check for your children, you may want to look at how much it's in there now. One of my WPI sorority sisters also expressed interest to go, so we made a pact to go together. We had no set plan, other than a shared goal to see as much of Europe as we possibly could and to stretch that money for as far as we could. And so our adventure began. We weren't totally sure how to get to Europe, as we didn't even have a ticket yet. There was no such thing as Expedia, and travel agencies, there was no chance because they're too expensive for us. But what we did know is we needed a seat for no more than $69. Yes, $69 or less to get to Europe. It's outlandish to even think you can do that. But that's what we budgeted for, and so we went for it. What we had heard is that other kids around the country were able to negotiate seats on flights to go to Europe. And so we thought that would be a good shot, and we'd give it a try. And so what we did is our parents dropped us off at the airport, abandoned us, essentially, and then we went to work. And so here's how that concept goes. We went to each counter and said, we believe it is better for you airlines to give us your empty seat for $69 versus nothing. It's a reasonable proposition, and we were, of course, there to help them. Our bonus proposition was if you give us 2 seats, we can give you $138. Smart math, because remember, we went to WPI. And that's not all. We are totally flexible. You can put us on any flight, anywhere, as long as it lands in Europe, and it costs $69 or less. Well, it took a little bit of time, but it worked. We landed in Hamburg the next morning. We had no idea where we were going or how we would make it happen, but we figured it out. Each and every single day was a new adventure. Whatever fear we may have had was replaced with just sheer excitement and satisfaction. We logged in more miles in that trip, almost as much as the mileage I've been putting on for my jobs. We were zigging and zagging all over Europe, chasing after whatever the longest train ride was, because that's how we slept. We stretched our money for 10 weeks. We met our goal in spades, and I came home 10 pounds lighter. Beer took precedence over food. But you know what? Without question, it was a trip of a lifetime. My third story is what I call the cry. So we're going to fast forward a few years. I'm now married to my best friend, Lars, who's in the audience. We had 2 beautiful young children. The youngest was a baby. We just moved into our new house. I started my new job. It was my 3rd job. On the surface, I had it all, and I did. It was probably the most overwhelming time of my life as well. I was severely sleep deprived. I was still in a prove myself mode. I had just been promoted with an expanded role and a new team. I lived in a house that needed major TLC. Demands were coming out of every single direction. Maybe some of you parents can resonate with me. Yeah? The engineer in me sought out to solve the root problem, sleep. Yeah? For me to get to sleep, I need my children to sleep. If I can get my children to sleep, I can get to sleep. And if I can get to sleep, my job can get the attention that I need, and I could succeed. And then maybe there's enough energy at the end of the week where I can help fix the house. Yeah? Sounds like a reasonable plan. But the reality is, here's how it played out. My husband was on a business trip. I just finished a long day at work. I rushed home to pick up the kids from daycare minutes before they closed. I'm beyond tired at this moment in time, and I start to implement this strategy. I quickly feed my kids, give them a quick bath, read Goodnight Moon at a fast clip, tucked them in, kissed them goodnight, walked out of their bedroom, 6:30 p.m. sharp. Yeah, I think I had it made, right? I know it's a little early, but you have to try. And then it happened, the cry. The infamous cry. I slowly watched my opportunity for sleep evaporate. I would come into my daughter and shh, softly, go to sleep. And then she continued to escalate her cry. And we went back and forth, so much so that it became the most humbling moment of my life. And then the next thing I know, both kids are crying. No, actually, they're howling in stereo. And I don't know if my son was crying because my daughter was crying, or I don't know what's going on because none of them speak. Yeah? But the next thing I know, all of us are crying. Trust me, this happens when you are sleep deprived. And then the most amazing thing, as we're all crying, my 2 kids stop and then look at me and stare at me. I'm like, whoa, this is a surprise. Maybe I figured out their language. So I know what you may be saying, so what? You know what, this happens all the time. Kids are unhappy, they cry. Yeah, but let me tell you how it fits into an impact into my life. It was clear in my overwhelmed state that I had missed the bigger picture. In my haste to get my own needs met, which was sleep, I did not fully pay attention to the real needs my children had at the time. And if I ever wanted to influence any outcome at all, I would need to slow down and spend that proper time, quality time, that they deserved. This wasn't about me, and nor should it have been. The lesson my children so rightfully brought to my attention became the source of inspiration that I needed at a critical time in my career as well. I was leading a new group of people who had a reputation of being challenging. Must be WPI students or something. If you bucked the system, or if the conventional bosses didn't like what you were doing, or didn't know how to manage you, you landed in my team. It's a nice thing. These talented people certainly didn't need me to fly in and tell them what to do. Rather, they needed someone to spend quality time with them. They needed someone to listen to them, to understand them, to validate what they were thinking and doing. And in return, this was the most amazing time that we had. It ended up becoming the most productive and magical time, both personally and for the business. It was a time when true genius came out and the passion was unleashed to a place that we've never seen before. And it's a time when everyone felt valued. This lesson not only changed me to be a better parent, but it also influenced me to be a better leader as well forever. Big thanks to my kids. My last story is called Choices. In Steve Jobs' commencement speech to the class of 2005 at Stanford, he made a profound statement, one that resonated and continued to stay with me to this day. His statement went, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future." Now, sitting here 31 years ago, I would never have imagined that to be true until now, when I have the position to actually reflect back on the entirety of my life. For instance, I would never have expected that my MQP, which provided the basic research to help a new blood-clotting drug get FDA approved, how that would be used on my mother years later when she had a surgically induced stroke. The doctor came out to the waiting room, explained that he'd like to try a new drug. I said I knew about it, and he had minutes to get on with it. It worked. How my IQP, which focused on teaching brilliant group of fifth graders accelerated math concepts, how this would unlock a passion in me that would also become a lifelong skill. And I tap into that every single day. Whether it's to translate complex technology into consumer-relevant concepts, or to teach 1,200 beauty advisors all the basics of skin. Or how my sufficiency, which focused on ethics, would help me consider all the perspectives I needed to consider before I made any decisions. Only now can I see with greater clarity how my choices have influenced the experiences I have had and the meaning behind who I am today. So as you prepare to take your first steps tomorrow and kick off your own life plan, I would like to leave you with some of my life lessons coming together. Please trust that your life will be full of many possibilities. Be ready to see them and take advantage of them. Keep things in perspective. Whether you take a trip or go on a trip, the journey might bring a nice surprise. If things look impossible, look at the situation from another lens and give it a try. You never know. Of course, if things don't go exactly as you've imagined, try to find some humor in it. It really does work. And if you are overwhelmed, by all means, cry. I always get a much better feeling after I give a good cry. Inspiration can come from anywhere and anyone, even the small ones who don't even speak your language. Keep your eyes and mind open to receive these precious gifts. And some practical advice to all of you graduates. Get as much sleep as you can when you can. Promise, it doesn't get any better as you get older. There's no doubt there will be many big events that will mark the beginning of a new chapter in your life, like tomorrow. But don't forget to pay attention to all the small moments as well. These are the ones that will add up and have greatest influence on who you will ultimately become. Everything does happen for a reason. You may not know what it means right now, but please have faith. They will all somehow connect and make sense later. So thank you again for the honor and privilege to be here today with you. I wish you all a wonderful life, full of many small moments and some fabulous memories. Congratulations, class of 2018. God bless.
Hi, I'm Alex. This is an original about maintaining connections despite the distance we might have ahead of us. I guess it's time for goodbyes. I've never been one for words, but that's alright. I'll fight the urge to make you stay, as if I had the power over that. Anyway, in late nights of bonfires and the flashlights of young color, and when it feels right, you know it can endure, especially when all you want to say is left unheard. And two things that never get along: distance and staying in contact when it's better to carry on. But when bonds cling like cars with traction, these interactions seem more than coincidence to me. Can't you see at those cold nights of bonfires caught in the headlights of young allure? And when it feels right, you know it can't endure, but it all flashes by in a blur. I guess this is what I've been feeling for so long. And the time left between us is the same as when you're gone. You're gone. This is what I've been feeling for so long, so long, so long, so long, so long. And the time left between us is the same as when you're gone. You're gone. So long, so long, so long. But go away. The distance doesn't matter. Far away, these memories won't falter. So go away. Distance doesn't matter. Yeah, far away. These these memories won't falter. This is what I've been feeling for so long, so long, so long, so long, so long. And the time left between us is the same as when you're gone, you're gone. So long, so long, so long. Oh, yeah. Oh, far away. So far away.
We hope you have enjoyed tonight's program. We would like to especially thank again Lise Jorgensen for participating in our baccalaureate ceremony tonight and for sharing her thoughts and excellent advice with not only the members of the class of 2018, but with all of us that are here tonight as well. On behalf of the class of 2018, I would also like to thank President Leshin, our trustees, Provost Burston, and all of the deans and faculty who have attended tonight's program. Thank you also to our family members and friends who have joined us tonight. After our closing prayer, I ask that the audience remain seated until the faculty and stage party have recessed from the tent. We look forward to seeing you all at graduation tomorrow.
Please rise. And let us pray. Supreme power of love, support, and sustenance, bless those here present, the class of 2018, their parents and friends, faculty and staff. For this, the baccalaureate ceremony, preceding tomorrow's commencement ceremony. At this baccalaureate, you've allowed us to hear speakers who let us know what it is to be a student, what it is to be alone in a university, knowing nobody, what it is to become part of a community. An important part of being part of the community is to give to that community and share with it so that we all grow together. So you've worked very hard for your courses. And then we see the other part of you this afternoon with the musical part, the artistic part of your personalities, your accomplishments. I ask, O Lord, that you support the students. Actually, after tomorrow, they're no longer students. They're out into the world to make a better world, as is the objective of every class, every graduating class, to make the world better than they found it, to make it warmer, more accepting, fairer. They will work in their jobs to make this a better planet. We ask you, O Lord, to support them in all their endeavors. And in the words of the priestly blessing from the Old Testament, May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you. And with your endeavors, your drive, and with God's support, may you achieve your dreams, the dreams you have today and the dreams you've yet to realize you will have in the future. Amen.